When I was in the 8th grade, I took a trip to the dentist that I thought was just going to be a regular little trip to get a filling done. Little did I know that this was actually going to be the day that I almost ended up dying. I went to the dentist early in the morning to get my filling done, and they went to start giving me my Novocaine, but it wasn't kicking in and it wasn't working, and they actually ended up giving me 13 shots of Novocaine. Once it kicked in, they got the filling done, and I was on my way. It was simple as that. Once I got in the car with my mom and we started driving home, the Novocaine started wearing off, and I got this really bad pain in my chest, and I started to feel like I was kind of choking, and I didn't really know what was going on. My mom actually said I sounded like me. We got back home, and my mom started calling the dentist and calling the doctor and trying to figure out what was going on. And they thought
I was kind of just having a reaction to something, but they didn't really know what. So I tried taking some Benadryl, I tried just laying down, but it was getting worse and worse, and I just kept choking for air, and I was taking breaths in, but nothing was going down, and every breath I took was just coming right back up. My mom was yelling at me and saying I didn't need to go to the hospital, and I was fine, and I was just needed to suck it up. And my mom's this tiny little lady. She's about 5'3", 5'4", but she yells like a trucker. She's a scary lady. It finally hit about 11 o'clock at night, and it got to the point where I was wheezing and couldn't breathe, and I sounded like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle. I just could not take it anymore. So my mom finally brought me to the hospital. We got to the hospital at St. John's in Maplewood, and I was sitting in the lobby, and there's a couple people that came in the lobby that were just crazy. And the first guy that came in was this sketchy-looking guy that looked like he had just walked right off the street. He came in limping and holding his arm, and he just started screaming, and he's like, "I got shot! I got shot!" And they finally just grabbed him and took him to the other room and started taking care of him right away. And I still sat there. And then the second guy came in, and he walked, and it was all bloody, and we didn't really know what was going on. And he was this big biker-looking guy, so it was kind of scary. And he picked up his hand, and he put his hand up to the nurse, and his thumb was just dangling there, and he had gotten it caught on his sock, so his thumb was about to come off. And the third guy that came in walked in cupping his hand over his eye, and he walked up to the desk, and he was in this spiffy business suit. He seemed kind of intoxicated, but I didn't really know what was going on with him. And he finally looked at the nurse, and he pulled his hand away from his eye, and his eyeball was just laying in his hand. It was hanging from his eye, and it was still connected, but his eye was in his hand. So they freaked out and grabbed him and brought him into the other room too. So the nurse finally came out and called my name and went to bring me into the other room. And I saw my nurse, and I was just instantly like, "You have got to be kidding me." My nurse looked straight up like Barbie. She had orange skin, bleach blonde hair, tons of makeup on, and just looked like she should not be a nurse. And the first thing she says to me is, "Hi, I'm new." We walk into the other room, and she got me all situated. And the doctor did the first scan on me to see what was going on. He realized that I was having an allergic reaction, and I was actually in anaphylactic shock at that point. So they started to give me an IV to get some epinephrine in. So the nurse went to give me the IV, and she started in my wrist to give me the IV, but she could not find the vein in my wrist. So she moved up to my elbow. When she was in my elbow and trying to put the IV in, she got it finally in the vein, but she didn't realize that she didn't have the stopper on the end of the tube. So when she got the IV in, it just started squirting blood everywhere. It was all over me, all over the floor. It was squirting me in the face. It was just spraying. The nurse panicked when she saw that this was happening, and she actually went running out of the room, and nobody knows where she went. She just left. So we actually had to flag down another doctor to come in, and he came in, stopped the IV, and just got really confused too. So he ended up giving me some epinephrine, and I was fine in like 20 minutes, just up and bouncing around, totally fine. I could actually breathe again, and I was completely okay. That doctor had done an analysis on my throat then to see where the inflammation had happened, and he told me that if I would have came in 2 hours later than I had come in, that my throat would have completely closed off to the point where I would have suffocated and died. And even though this happened, still to this day, my mom will not take me to the hospital even if I'm dying.